My daughter wrote, "Don't you dare come to us for Christmas. We don't want to see you." My son said nothing. I calmly replied, "Okay," and then canceled all the bank payments. In the morning, they both stood at my doorstep. I'm glad you're here with me. Please like this video and listen to my story till the end, and let me know which city you're listening from. That way I can see how far my story has traveled. I used to believe that being a good mother meant sacrificing everything for your children. For 35 years, I lived by that principle. My name is Margaret Chen, and at 62 years old, I had spent the better part of my life ensuring my two children, Jessica and Brian, had everything they needed. My husband Tom died 7 years ago, leaving me a comfortable pension, our paid-off house in suburban Cleveland, and a modest investment portfolio. I wasn't wealthy, but I was secure. And I was generous, perhaps too generous, I would later realize. Every month, like clockwork, I sent Jessica $1,500. She was 34, married to Derek, a man who seemed to change jobs more often than his socks. They had 2 children, Emma and Lucas, my precious grandchildren whom I adored. Jessica always had reasons why they needed the money: unexpected medical bills, car repairs, Emma's dance classes, Lucas's tutoring. Brian, my 31-year-old son, received $1,000 monthly. He was single, working in tech support, but apparently his salary never quite covered his expenses. There was always something. Student loans, rent, increases his car payment. Beyond the monthly payments, there were the extras. Birthday gifts that cost hundreds, Christmas presents that maxed out my credit card emergency loans that were never repaid. When Jessica's washing machine broke, I bought them a new one. When Brian's laptop died, I replaced it within days. I told myself this was what mothers did. This was love. But lately, something had shifted. The phone calls became shorter, more transactional. "Hi, Mom. Just checking if you sent this month's payment yet. Mom, I need an extra $500 by Friday." The "I love you" started feeling like afterthoughts, obligations tacked on to requests for money. Thanksgiving had been strange. Jessica had barely spoken to me, too busy on her phone. Brian had arrived late and left early, claiming he had plans with friends. Neither of them asked how I was doing, whether I was lonely in that big house by myself, whether my arthritis was bothering me again. I pushed down the hurt. They were busy. They had their own lives. This was normal, wasn't it? Then December arrived, and with it, the first real wound. I had mentioned casually that I'd love to spend Christmas with them this year. Maybe I could come to Jessica's house, help with the cooking watch, the kids open presents, or they could all come to me. I'd prepare Tom's famous prime rib, set up the guest rooms. Jessica's response came via text message, not even a phone call. I stared at my phone screen, reading the words over and over, certain I must have misunderstood. "Don't you dare come here for Christmas. We don't want to see you." My hands trembled. I read it again and again. The message continued. "We need family time. Just us. You're always so needy and demanding. We need space. Don't call. Don't text. Just leave us alone for the holidays." I sat down heavily on my kitchen chair, the phone nearly slipping from my grip. Needy, demanding. I had asked to see my own family for Christmas. Was that demanding? I waited for Brian to call to check on me, to at least acknowledge what his sister had said. We had a family group chat. He had surely seen the message. Silence. Hours passed, then a full day. Brian said nothing. His silence felt like agreement, like betrayal, just as sharp as Jessica's words. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Tom's side of the bed cold and empty as it had been for 7 years. What had I done wrong? Had I been too available, too giving, or had I simply been too blind to see what my children had become? The next morning, I sat at my kitchen table with my coffee and my laptop. I opened my bank account and looked at the automatic transfers I had set up years ago. 1,500 to Jessica, 1,000 to Brian. Month after month, year after year. I thought about the text message about Brian's silence, about how neither of them had asked how I was doing in months. And then with a clarity that surprised me, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I canceled every automatic payment, all of them. Then I texted back just one word, okay, after I pressed send on that single word, okay. I sat motionless for several minutes, my heart pounding. What had I just done? But as the initial shock faded, something else took its place. Not anger, not yet. First came curiosity, a cold, analytical curiosity I hadn't felt in years. I opened my banking app and began to scroll, not just through recent months, but years. I exported statements, created a spreadsheet, something Tom had taught me long ago when we used to manage our household budget together. The numbers that emerged made me feel physically ill. Over the past 5 years alone, I had sent Jessica $90,000 in regular monthly payments. Brian had received $60,000, but that was just the automatic transfers. Then there were the emergencies. Jessica's transmission repair, $3,000. Brian's security deposit for his apartment, $2,000. Jessica's root canal, $1,500. Brian's emergency flight to a friend's wedding, $800. The pattern went on and on. I added another column: gifts, Christmas birthdays, Easter graduations, the all-terrain stroller for Emma, $400. Lucas's gaming computer, $1,200. Brian's new phone, $900. When I finally totaled everything I had to check the number 3 times because surely I had made a mistake, $173,000 in 5 years. I sat back my coffee now, cold, my hands shaking. That was nearly my entire inheritance from Tom. The money he had worked so hard for, saved so carefully, left specifically for my security in old age. And what had I gotten in return? A text message telling me I wasn't welcome at Christmas. A son who couldn't even defend me or speak up. The phone rang. I jumped, my heart racing. It was Jessica. For a moment I considered not answering, but I picked up. Mom. Her voice was tight, controlled. I see you canceled the transfers. No apology. No, I'm sorry for what I said. Just immediate focus on the money. Yes, I said simply. Well, you need to fix that. The mortgage payment is due and I'm counting on that money. The mortgage payment on the house that Derek and she had bought. The house I had helped with the down payment for $20,000. I had almost forgotten about that. No, I said, silence. Then what I said, no, Jessica. I won't be fixing it. Are you serious right now? Her voice rose. You're going to punish us because you're having some kind of emotional breakdown. We have bills, Mom. We have kids. So do I said quietly. I have bills too. You have your pension. You have Dad's life insurance. You're fine. Was I fine? I thought about my property taxes due in January. My own mortgage. Yes. Even the paid-off house had a small reverse mortgage I'd taken out 2 years ago when Jessica needed help with Emma's medical bills. My prescription costs that seemed to climb every year. I need to go, I said. Mom, wait. I hung up. The phone immediately rang again. I turned it off. For the first time in weeks, the house was completely silent. And in that silence, I began to think clearly. I wasn't going to simply cut them off and hope they learned a lesson. That would accomplish nothing. They would just be angry, would paint me as the villain, the cruel mother who abandoned her struggling children. Number 1, I needed a plan. I needed to understand exactly how much control they thought they had over me. I needed to see what they would do when the money stopped. I needed evidence of their true motives, their true feelings, and I needed to protect myself legally, financially, emotionally. I turned on my laptop and began to research elderly financial abuse, legal protection for seniors, how to document financial exploitation, estate planning. Hours passed. The winter sun set early, casting long shadows through my kitchen windows. I barely noticed. I made lists. I made phone calls to automated bank services, taking notes. I found the business card of Tom's old attorney, Samuel Harrison, still in our filing cabinet. By midnight, I had the skeleton of a plan. Step 1, document everything. Step 2, consult with attorney Harrison about protecting my assets. Step 3, set up a new bank account they didn't know about. Step 4, wait, watch. Let them show their true colors. See Step 5. Make my decision about my estate based on their actions, not my guilt. I finally went to bed at 1:00 in the morning, exhausted but strangely calm. For the first time in years, I wasn't lying awake worrying about whether Jessica had enough money or whether Brian was okay. I was thinking about myself, and it felt like waking up from a very long sleep. Samuel Harrison's law office hadn't changed since Tom and I had last visited years ago to update our wills. The same mahogany desk, the same leather chairs, even the same receptionist, though she had grayed considerably, as had we all. Margaret Samuel stood extending his hand. He was 70 now, semi-retired, but his eyes were still sharp. "I was sorry to hear about your situation. Please sit." I had called him 3 days after canceling the payments, and he'd fit me in immediately. Now sitting across from him, I laid out everything: the spreadsheet, printed bank statements, text messages. I'd screenshotted a timeline of financial requests. Samuel put on his reading glasses and reviewed the documents in silence. His expression grew grimmer with each page. $73,000 in 5 years. He finally said, "Margaret, do you realize this qualifies as financial exploitation of an elderly person in Ohio?" Elderly person. The word stung, but I pushed past the sting. I gave it willingly. Under emotional manipulation and undue influence, apparently he tapped Jessica's Christmas text. This kind of verbal abuse combined with financial demands creates a pattern. How old are you? 62. And your health: arthritis, high blood pressure, some anxiety since Tom died. He made notes. "I'm going to be direct with you, Margaret. If you want to protect your remaining assets, we need to act now. Your children know you're vulnerable. They're counting on it." My throat tightened. "What do you recommend first?" "A new will. Currently, everything goes to them equally upon your death." "Correct." I nodded. "We change that. Make your estate conditional based on behavior, or redirect assets to a trust or even to charity if you choose. Second, I want you to document every interaction going forward. Every call, text, visit, time, date, content. Third, consider a financial power of attorney to someone neutral, not them, in case you become incapacitated. Fourth, if they escalate to threats or harassment, we file for a protection order. Protection order against my own children." The thought made me dizzy. "I know this is difficult," Samuel said gently, "but I've seen this pattern before. Adult children who view their aging parents as ATM machines. It rarely improves without intervention." I left his office 2 hours later with a thick folder of documents to review and sign. My hands shook as I drove home. That evening, as I was making dinner, my phone buzzed. A text from Brian, his first direct communication since the Christmas message. "Mom, what's going on? Jessica said you're acting crazy. I need the money for rent. It's due tomorrow." I stared at the message. Not, "Are you okay?" Not, "I'm sorry I didn't defend you." Just the money. I typed back. "I've made some financial changes. You'll need to budget differently going forward." His response was immediate. "Are you kidding me? I'll be evicted." Is this because of what Jessica said? She was just stressed. You know how she is. You know how she is. As if that excused it. As if her stress justified cruelty. Another message. I'm coming over tomorrow. We need to talk about this. Then Jessica Bryan told me you're cutting him off too. What is wrong with you? Where are your children? I didn't respond to either of them, but I did something else. I went to my bedroom closet and found the box of cards and letters they'd sent me over the years. I sat on my bed and read through them. The Mother's Day cards were revealing. I had saved them all, every single one. I opened them chronologically, starting from when they were young. The early ones, when they were children and teenagers, were filled with drawings, earnest declarations of love, memories of things we'd done together. But somewhere around their mid-20s, the tone shifted. Thanks for everything you do for us, Mom. You're the best mom. Hope you have a great day. Generic, impersonal, like corporate greeting cards. And then in the past 3 years, the cards had stopped altogether. Jessica had sent digital cards, obviously free e-cards that took 30 seconds to select and send. Brian had forgotten entirely, some years texting a belated Happy Mother's Day the day after. I found one card from 2 years ago from Jessica. I had saved it because it had seemed particularly heartfelt at the time. Mom, you are always there when we need you. Your generosity knows no bounds. We love you so much. Reading it now with new eyes, I saw it differently. Always there when we need you. When they needed me. When they needed money, not we're here for you, not let us help you. I photographed the card and added it to a new folder on my phone labeled Evidence. That night, I barely slept because I knew that tomorrow when Brian showed up at my door, the real confrontation would begin, and I needed to be ready. Brian arrived at 11 the next morning. I watched through the window as his car pulled into the driveway, the Honda Civic I had helped him buy 3 years ago, with a $5,000 loan that was never repaid. He knocked sharply. I waited a moment, steadying myself, then opened the door. Mom. He didn't smile. He looked tired, irritated. We need to talk. Come in, I said evenly. He walked past me into the living room, and that's when I saw Jessica's SUV pull up behind his car. My stomach dropped. They had coordinated this. Jessica climbed out, her face set in hard lines. Derek stayed in the car with the kids. I could see Emma and Lucas in the back seat, and my heart HD. They'd brought my grandchildren as props. Both of you, I said as Jessica entered without knocking. I see. Sit down, Mom, Jessica said. It wasn't a request. This is my house, I replied quietly. I'll stand if I want to. Brian ran a hand through his hair. Look, Mom, I don't know what's going on with you, but this stops today. You can't just cut us off without warning. I gave you warning, I said. You told me not to come for Christmas. You told me you didn't want to see me. I respected your wishes. Jessica's eyes flashed. That was about Christmas, not about money. You're twisting everything. Am I? I met her gaze steadily. Then let me ask you something, Jessica. When was the last time you called me just to talk, not to ask for money, just to see how I was doing? She blinked. We talk all the time. When I don't keep a calendar of our conversations, Mom, this is ridiculous. Brian stepped forward. Mom, I'm about to be evicted. Evicted. Do you understand what that means? My credit will be destroyed. I might lose my job if I have to move suddenly and can't make the commute. You make $60,000 a year, I said. I had looked up average salaries for his position. Your rent is $900 a month. Where is your money going, Brian? His face reened. That's none of your business. It became my business when you made me responsible for your rent. You're our mother. Jessica's voice rose sharply. "You're supposed to help us. That's what mothers do. Help." "Yes," I said. "Enable, no. There's a difference, and I'm just beginning to understand it." Enable Jessica laughed harshly. "Oh my God, have you been watching Dr. Phil or something? We're not addicts, Mom. We're your children who are struggling." Struggling? I walked to my desk and picked up the folder I'd prepared. "Jessica, you and Derek took a vacation to Cancun last spring. I saw the photos on Facebook. That's not struggling. That was a credit card. We needed a break. And who do you think will pay that credit card when you can't? Who are you counting on?" Her mouth opened, then closed. I turned to Brian. "You bought a new gaming computer last month. I saw it in your Instagram story. $1, $200. But you can't make rent. I needed that for work," he protested. "You work in tech support. Your company provides equipment." The room fell silent. Then Jessica's face transformed. Her anger melted into tears. "Mom, please. I'm sorry." "Okay. I'm sorry about what I said. I was stressed. Derek's been having trouble at work and the kids are expensive and I took it out on you, but you can't punish the kids because I lost my temper. Punish the kids. She was good. She knew exactly where to strike. Emma needs her dance classes." Jessica continued wiping her eyes. "Lucas has a field trip coming up. Are you really going to take that away from them because you're mad at me?" I felt the familiar guilt rising, the instinct to comfort, to fix, to provide. For a moment, I almost wavered. Then I remembered the spreadsheet. $173,000. I remembered the Christmas text. I remembered Brian's silence. "No," I said firmly. "No." Jessica's tears stopped as quickly as they'd started. "No, I won't be resuming payments. You're both adults. You need to manage your own finances." Brian's expression hardened. "You're really doing this? I am fine." He turned toward the door. "Don't come crying to us when you're old and sick and need someone to take care of you." The threat hung in the air, ugly and clear. Jessica grabbed her purse. "You're going to regret this, Mom. Family is supposed to stick together, but apparently, you're fine with being alone." She paused at the door. "Don't expect to see your grandchildren anymore." They left. I stood in my empty living room, shaking. The threat about the grandchildren hit harder than anything else. Emma and Lucas, they were innocent in all this, but I couldn't let manipulation win. I couldn't. I sat down heavily and allowed myself to cry for the first time since this began. Great heaving sobs that came from somewhere deep inside. Then I dried my eyes, called Samuel Harrison, and reported every word they'd said. "Document it all," he confirmed. "You're doing the right thing, Margaret, even when it doesn't feel like it." For the next 3 days, I took his advice. I took a break. I didn't check my phone obsessively. I watched old movies. I cooked meals just for myself. I grieved. I grieved for the children I thought I had raised. I grieved for the relationship I thought we had. I grieved for my illusions. And slowly, I began to feel something else. Relief. The call came from my sister Linda on the 4th day. "Maggie," she said using my childhood nickname. I talked to Jessica this morning. I closed my eyes. Of course they had called Linda. "What did she tell you, that you've had some kind of breakdown and cut them off financially?" "She's worried about you, honey. So am I." "I haven't had a breakdown, Linda. I've had a realization. She said you won't even see the grandkids." "That doesn't sound like you. She's the one who said I couldn't see them," I corrected. "I wanted to spend Christmas with them. She told me not to come, told me they didn't want to see me. When I stopped sending money, suddenly I'm the villain." Silence on the other end. Linda was thinking, "How much were you sending them?" She asked, finally. Thousands every month for years. Oh, Maggie. Her tone shifted. Why didn't you tell me? I thought I was being a good mother, and now I'm trying to be a healthy person. We talked for an hour. Linda widowed herself, understood loneliness and the fear of losing family. But she also understood manipulation. Her own son had tried similar tactics before she'd set boundaries. It's gonna hurt, she warned. They're gonna try everything. They'll send the kids to guilt you. They'll play the victim to everyone who'll listen. They'll make you doubt yourself. I know. But if you cave now, it'll only get worse. They'll know exactly how to control you. After we hung up, I felt less alone. But Linda's prediction came true faster than I expected. That afternoon, Emma called my 10-year-old granddaughter, Grandma. Her small voice made my chest tighten. Why are you mad at us? I gripped the phone. Hi, sweetheart. I'm not mad at you. Mommy said you don't want to see us anymore. She's been crying. The manipulation was breathtaking, using a child to deliver the message to apply pressure. Emma, honey, I love you very much. I wanted to see you for Christmas, but Mommy said no. Do you understand? Mommy said. Mommy said you're being mean about money. Did Mommy tell you to call me? A pause? She's right here. She wants to talk to you. Jessica got on the phone. Do you hear that you're confusing her? She doesn't understand why her grandmother doesn't love her anymore. I took a deep breath. Jessica, don't use your daughter to manipulate me. It's not fair to her. I'm not. How dare you? I'm trying to help Emma understand why her family is falling apart. The family isn't falling apart because I set financial boundaries. Think about that. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but my resolve held. I called Samuel Harrison again. They're using the grandchildren now, I told him. Predicted, he said grimly. Don't engage. If they continue, it's harassment. We're documenting it all. That evening, I did something I hadn't done in years. I went to the community center where Tom and I used to take ballroom dancing classes. A support group for widows and widowers met there on Thursday nights. I walked in nervously. About 12 people sat in a circle ranging from their 50s to their 80s. The facilitator, a kind-faced woman named Carol, welcomed me. I'm Margaret, I said. My husband died 7 years ago, and I'm having trouble with my adult children. The stories that followed shocked me. I wasn't alone. 3 other women had similar experiences. Adult children who saw them primarily as sources of money. One man's son had stolen his credit cards. Another woman's daughter had forged her signature on loan documents. The hardest part, said a woman named Ruth, who was 73, is accepting that the children you raised aren't the adults they became. You keep hoping they'll change, go back to being the sweet kids they once were. But sometimes they don't. What did you do? I asked. I changed my will. Left everything to a scholarship fund in my late husband's name. When my daughter found out, she didn't speak to me for a year. Then one day she called and apologized. Really apologized. We're rebuilding now, slowly, but it took hitting rock bottom for her to see what she'd become. And if she hadn't apologized, Ruth smiled sadly. Then I'd have peace knowing I didn't reward bad behavior. Either way, I'd be free. Free. The word resonated. I left the meeting with phone numbers, with validation, with the understanding that setting boundaries wasn't cruelty. It was self-preservation. At home, I made tea and sat in Tom's old chair. I thought about the life insurance money, the savings, the house. I thought about Jessica's tears and Brian's threats and Emma's confused voice. And I thought about Ruth's words. Either way, I'd be free. The next morning, I called Samuel Harrison. I want to change my will, I said. I want to create a trust, and I want very specific conditions. Tell me what you're thinking, he said. I told him, and for the first time in weeks, I smiled. They came on Sunday morning, both of them without warning. I was having coffee on my porch, enjoying the cold December air when both cars pulled into my driveway. Jessica got out, first followed by Derek. Brian emerged from his car alone. They walked up my driveway with careful, measured steps, a united front. "Mom," Jessica said softly, "can we talk, please? We've been thinking a lot, and we want to make things right." I studied her face. The tears from before were gone. This was a different approach, humble, conciliatory. "Come in," I said. We sat in the living room. Derek, whom I'd always found vaguely spineless, spoke first. "Margaret, I owe you an apology. I should have been managing our finances better. I shouldn't have let Jessica rely on you so much. That's on me." Interesting. He was taking responsibility to make Jessica look better. Brian leaned forward. "Mom, I've been doing some thinking too. I've been irresponsible with money. I see that now. I'm going to make changes." They seemed so sincere. For a moment, I almost believed them. "I appreciate you coming," I said. "What kind of changes?" "Well," Jessica said, glancing at Brian, "we thought maybe we could work out a budget together. You could help us learn to manage money better. You and Dad were always so good at that." "A budget?" I repeated. "Yeah," Brian said eagerly. "Like maybe you could help me set up automatic savings, show me how to track expenses, that kind of thing." "And you think that would help?" "Definitely," Jessica said. "And look, Mom, about Christmas, I was completely out of line. I was stressed about money and I took it out on you. It was wrong. We want you there. The kids miss you terribly." I sat back observing them. They were good, very good. But something felt off. "So you want to reconcile," I said. "Yes." Jessica's eyes brightened. "We're family. Family worked through things. And the money." A flicker, just the briefest flicker, crossed her face. "What about it? Would you want me to resume the monthly payments while we work on this budget?" Jessica exchanged a look with Brian. "Well, I mean, we can't just switch everything overnight, right? Maybe a transition period. You could reduce the amount gradually while we get on our feet." There it was. "How much were you thinking?" I asked. "Maybe half," Brian suggested. "Just until I find a cheaper apartment. Maybe 3-4 months. And you, Jessica?" "The same. Just until Derek's situation stabilizes. He has some job interviews coming up." Derek nodded enthusiastically. "Really promising opportunities." I stood up and walked to the window, my back to them. I could see my reflection in the glass. A 62-year-old woman who had almost been fooled again. "No," I said quietly. "Mom." Jessica started. I turned to face them. "No, I'm not giving you any more money. Not half, not a quarter, nothing." "But we just explained," Brian protested. "You explained that you want a transition period, a few more months of money while you get on your feet. And then what? Another crisis, another excuse." Jessica's expression hardened. The mask began to crack. "So what, you're just going to abandon us?" "I'm not abandoning you. I'm refusing to enable you. There's a difference." Semantics. Jessica stood abruptly. "You have money, Mom. You have Dad's life insurance, your pension, this house. We're struggling." "You're not struggling, Jessica. You're mismanaging, and you've been using me as a backup plan instead of learning to budget." Derek finally showed some spine. "Unfortunately, it was to defend the manipulation. This is unbelievable after everything we've done for you." "What have you done for me?" I asked directly. He faltered. We visit you. We include you in the grandkids' lives. You mean you used to before I stopped paying, and you're using them now as leverage Brian stood too. You know what, Mom? We came here trying to fix this, trying to be adults about it, but you're being stubborn and selfish. Selfish, I repeated. I'm selfish for wanting to keep enough money to pay my own bills to have security in my old age. You're not even that old, Jessica snapped. You're 62. You'll probably live another 30 years. You don't need all that money just sitting there. And there was the truth. They weren't worried about their own survival. They were worried about their inheritance. Get out, I said quietly. What get out of my house? Jessica's face flushed red. Fine, but don't expect us to come running when you need help someday. Don't expect us to visit you in some nursing home. Don't expect us to care for you when you're sick and alone. I wouldn't dream of it, I said. You've made it clear that our relationship is transactional. No money, no family. I understand perfectly now. Brian grabbed his keys. You're making a huge mistake. Maybe, but it's my mistake to make. Jessica stopped at the door, her final card to play. The kids will forget you. You know Emma's already asking why you don't love her anymore. In a few years, you'll just be some old lady they barely remember. Is that what you want? The words hit like knives, but I kept my face neutral. If that's what happens, then I'll know I raised children who taught their own children that love is conditional on money, and that will tell me everything I need to know. They left, slamming the door behind them. I stood in my living room, my heart pounding, adrenaline surging through my body. My hands shook. Part of me wanted to run after them to apologize to fix it, but I didn't. Instead, I sat down, pulled out my phone, and texted Samuel Harrison. Meeting happened, got worse, proceeding with all legal changes. His response came quickly. Good. Proud of you. This is the hard part. It gets better. I wasn't sure I believed him, but I had come too far to turn back now. Christmas came and went. I spent it with Linda and her family. It hurt. God, it hurt to not see Emma and Lucas, but I survived. Then 2 days after New Year's, I received a call from Samuel Harrison. Margaret, I need you to come to my office. Something's happened. His tone made my stomach drop. What is it? Just come today if possible. An hour later, I sat across from him as he slid a document across his desk. It was a petition for guardianship of me. I stared at it, not comprehending. What is this? Jessica and Brian have filed a petition claiming you're mentally incompetent and need a legal guardian to manage your finances. They're seeking to be appointed as co-guardians. The room tilted. They've submitted statements claiming you've been acting erratically, making irrational financial decisions, showing signs of dementia. They have a doctor's letter from my doctor. That's impossible. I haven't been to the doctor. Not your doctor. A doctor Derek knows from his gym, Dr. Richard Patterson. He's written a letter stating that based on conversations with Jessica and Brian, he has concerns about your cognitive function. I couldn't breathe. He's never even met me. I know. That's why this won't stand. But Margaret, we need to fight this aggressively. They're trying to gain control of your assets by declaring you incompetent. Can they do that? Not if we act fast. I've already scheduled a hearing for next week. You'll need an independent psychiatric evaluation. I have an excellent doctor who specializes in these cases, and we're going to need to demonstrate very clearly that you're of sound mind. The evaluation took place 3 days later. Dr. Rachel Winters, a psychiatrist in her 50s, spent 4 hours with me. Cognitive tests, memory tests, questions about my life, my decisions, my reasoning. At the end, she smiled. Mrs. Chen, you're one of the most mentally sharp people I've evaluated. Your executive function is excellent. Your memory is better than most people half your age. There is absolutely no evidence of cognitive decline, so their claim is baseless and, frankly, offensive. I'll be providing a detailed report to the court. The hearing was scheduled for January 12th at the county courthouse. Samuel prepped me thoroughly. They'll try to paint you as confused, emotional, irrational. You need to stay calm. Answer clearly. Don't let them bait you into anger. The courtroom was small. Jessica and Brian sat with their attorney, a slickle-looking man named Peter Morrison. They wouldn't look at me. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s, named Judge Patricia Coleman, reviewed the documents. "Mr. Morrison," she said, "you're petitioning for guardianship of Margaret Chen based on alleged mental incompetence. Please present your case." Morrison stood. "Your Honor, Mrs. Chen's children are deeply concerned about their mother's recent behavior. She's made erratic financial decisions, cutting off long-standing support to her family without explanation. She has isolated herself socially. She has exhibited paranoid thinking, accusing her children of manipulation." Dr. Patterson's letter outlines. "Dr. Patterson has never met Mrs. Chen." Judge Coleman interrupted. "Is that correct?" Morrison faltered. He based his assessment on detailed interviews with her children. Hearsay. Continue. "Your Honor, the children can testify to her erratic behavior. She has made threats to disinherit them. Threats or statements of intent regarding her own estate planning." Morrison stumbled over his words. I could see Jessica whispering urgently to him. Samuel Harrison stood. "Your Honor, if I may, we have submitted Dr. Rachel Winter's comprehensive psychiatric evaluation of Mrs. Chen conducted just last week. Dr. Winters is board certified and has extensive experience in competency evaluations. Her finding is unequivocal. Mrs. Chen is of completely sound mind." The judge reviewed Dr. Winters' report. Her expression grew colder. "Mr. Morrison, this petition appears to be a transparent attempt by adult children to gain control of their mother's finances because she chose to stop giving them money. Is there any actual evidence of incompetence beyond the fact that she made decisions you and your clients don't like?" Morrison tried to rally. "Your Honor, if we could hear from the children themselves, fine. Let's hear from them. Miss Chen, Mr. Chen, please approach." Jessica and Brian stood. I saw Jessica's hands shaking. Miss Chen, Judge Coleman said coldly, "How much money was your mother giving you monthly?" "I won $500. "For how long?" "About 5 years. "And when she stopped, you filed for guardianship. Is that the sequence of events? It's not that simple." Jessica's voice rose. She was always so generous, and then suddenly she just cut us off. "She's not thinking clearly." Or the judge said, oicily, "She's thinking more clearly than she has in years. Mr. Chen, do you have anything to add?" Brian looked at the floor. "We're just worried about her, or worried about her money." Silence. Judge Coleman closed the file. Petition denied. Furthermore, I'm ordering both petitioners to reimburse Mrs. Chen's legal fees for defending against this frivolous claim. This hearing is adjourned. The gavel struck. Jessica burst into tears. Brian looked stunned. Their attorney was already packing his briefcase, clearly wanting to escape. I stood on shaking legs. Samuel put a hand on my shoulder. "You did it," he whispered. As we left the courtroom, Jessica called after me. Mom, wait." I turned. Her face was red mascara running. "How could you do this to us? We're your children." And in that moment, with absolute clarity and cold calm, I said, "No, you're adults who tried to have me declared mentally incompetent so you could steal my money. There's a name for what you are, and it's not children." I walked away and didn't look back. The next day, Samuel Harrison called me into his office once more. Before we finalize the new will and trust, I want to make sure you're certain about this, Margaret. This is your last chance to change your mind. I looked at the documents in front of me. My new last will and testament, a charitable trust in Tom's name. Specific limited bequests to Emma and Lucas college funds they'd receive at 25, with conditions that neither parent could access. I'm certain, I said. The rest goes to the scholarship fund. Yes, and to Linda's children who actually call me to see how I'm doing. He nodded, and I signed. Each signature felt like freedom. That same week, Jessica and Brian received the court order to pay my legal fees, $8,000. They also received a registered letter from Samuel Harrison outlining that any further harassment, manipulation, or legal action would result in a restraining order and possible criminal charges for attempted financial exploitation of an elderly person. Jessica called sobbing. I let it go to voicemail. Mom, please, I'm sorry. I didn't want to file that petition. It was Derek's idea, and the lawyer said we had a case, and I was just so scared about money. Please call me back, please. The kids miss you. I miss you. I deleted it. Brian's message was shorter. I hope you're happy now, Mom. You've destroyed this family. I deleted that too. But the message from Emma, that one I listened to 3 times before I could bring myself to delete it. Grandma Mommy said, we can't see you anymore because you're sick. Are you okay? I miss you. Lucas misses you too. He made you a drawing, but Mommy said we can't send it. I love you, Grandma. That one broke my heart, but I understood what was happening. They were using the children as a final weapon, and I couldn't allow it to work. I called Samuel. Can I send gifts directly to Emma and Lucas? You can try, but legally their parents can refuse them. And if I show up at their school, that could be considered harassment if Jessica has told you to stay away. Margaret. I know this is hard, but right now, your grandchildren are in their parents' control. The college funds you've set up are the best you can do. 2 weeks later, I ran into Derek's mother, Patricia, at the grocery store. She looked embarrassed when she saw me. Margaret, she said quietly, I heard about what happened. I'm sure you heard Jessica's version. Actually, Derek told me the truth eventually. She looked around, then lowered her voice. He's furious with Jessica. He said the guardianship thing was her idea, that she convinced him you were losing your mind. When the judge threw it out and ordered them to pay your fees, he realized she'd been lying. They've been fighting constantly. I'm sorry to hear that I said and meant it. Don't be. They made their bed. Patricia paused. For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. My sister went through something similar with her son. She gave in to keep the peace. He's 50 now and still bleeding her dry. You were brave. That conversation stayed with me for days. Then in early February, I received a Facebook message from a number I didn't recognize. Mrs. Chen, this is Melissa Carter Bryan's girlfriend. We've been dating for 3 months, but he hasn't mentioned me to the family. I wanted you to know that Brian has a serious gambling problem. Online poker. That's where all his money goes. He's been using what you gave him to cover his debts. I'm trying to get him help, but he won't listen to me. I thought you should know the truth. I'm sorry for what he's done to you. I stared at the message for a long time. Gambling. That explained everything. The constant need for money, the evasiveness, the inability to save. I forwarded the message to Samuel Harrison with a note for the file in case this ever goes to court again. By March, the social consequences had fully rippled through our extended family. Linda had told other relatives what happened. Cousins took sides. Most of them took mine once they heard the full story. Jessica and Brian found themselves increasingly isolated. Their version of events that I had cruelly abandoned them didn't hold up under scrutiny when people asked basic questions. If she cut you off without reason, why did she offer to spend Christmas with you? If she's mentally incompetent, why did a psychiatrist and a judge both disagree? If you weren't using her for money, why file for guardianship right after she stopped paying? They had no good answers. Meanwhile, I thrived. I joined a book club. I took a watercolor painting class at the community center. I spent time with Linda and her family. I made new friends at the grief support group. I stopped waiting for the phone to ring. I stopped feeling guilty for having boundaries. I had filed my taxes and saw clearly how much money I'd actually saved by cutting them off. Nearly $3,000 a month, 36 hours, $1,000 a year. I used some of it to take Linda on a trip to the Grand Canyon, something we'd always wanted to do together. I used some to donate to a women's shelter. I used some to prepay my funeral expenses and long-term care insurance, so I would never be a burden to anyone. And I slept peacefully for the first time in years. By summer, my new life had fully taken shape. I had joined a seniors hiking group that met every Saturday. We tackled easy trails in the Cleveland Metrop parks, and I discovered I loved the physical challenge, the fresh air, the companionship of people who asked nothing from me but my company. One of the women, Ruth, the same Ruth from the grief support group, became a close friend. We had coffee every Tuesday morning, went to movies on Thursday nights. She introduced me to her son, Michael, who helped me set up a better computer system and taught me how to protect myself from online scams. "My mother talks about you all the time," Michael said, smiling. "She says you inspire her." Me inspiring. The idea seemed absurd, but it felt good. I redecorated Tom's old office, turning it into an art studio. My watercolor paintings weren't museum quality, but they brought me joy. I painted landscapes, flowers, abstract pieces that somehow captured emotions I couldn't put into words. The community center asked if I'd volunteer to teach basic computer skills to other seniors. I said yes. Every Wednesday afternoon, I help people my age navigate email, video calls, online banking. It felt purposeful. Linda and I started planning another trip, this time to Ireland in the fall. "You seem happier than I've seen you in years," she observed one day over lunch. I realized. I didn't know how heavy that burden was until I put it down. Any regrets, I thought about it honestly. About Emma and Lucas every day, but not about the decision itself. That was right. Meanwhile, through the grapevine and occasional social media glimpses, I learned how Jessica and Brian were faring. Not well, Derek had left Jessica in April. Patricia told me the details, somewhat guilty over coffee. He filed for divorce, took the kids for now joint custody, but he has the house until it sells. Jessica is living in a rental apartment, working 2 jobs. He's saying she has a shopping addiction, that she hid credit card debt from him. The guardianship thing was apparently the last straw for him. And the children, I asked carefully. They're okay. Derek's actually a decent father when he's not enabling Jessica. He's getting his act together, holding down his job. He told Patricia he's ashamed he didn't stand up to Jessica sooner. Part of me felt satisfaction. Part of me felt sadness. Mostly, I felt relief that Emma and Lucas had at least one stable parent. Brian's situation was worse. Melissa had broken up with him after he refused to get help for his gambling addiction. He'd been evicted from his apartment and was living with a friend, reportedly couch surfing when that fell through. I heard through my cousin Rachel that he'd shown up at her house asking for money, spinning some story about a medical emergency. Rachel, who knew the truth, had refused. "He looked terrible, Margaret," she told me, thin, exhausted. "But I remembered what you said about enabling. I gave him the number for a gambling addiction hotline instead. "Thank you," I said. In July, I received a letter not from Jessica or Brian, but from Derek. "Dear Margaret," it began, "I owe you an enormous apology. I was weak and let Jessica manipulate me into going along with things I knew were wrong. The guardianship petition was unconscionable, and I'm ashamed I didn't speak up. I understand if you can't forgive me, but I wanted you to know that Emma and Lucas ask about you all the time. I've told them the truth, age appropriately, that sometimes adults make mistakes and hurt people they love, and there are consequences. They've made you drawings and cards. I'm including them with this letter. If you ever want to see them, I would welcome that. No expectations, no pressure. Just they miss their grandmother, Derek." Inside were crayon drawings. Emma had drawn a picture of me and her holding hands under a rainbow. Lucas had written, "I love Grandma," in shaky letters. I cried for an hour. Then I called Samuel Harrison. If I want to see my grandchildren, but only with their father present, not Jessica, is that legally possible? If Derek has joint custody and agrees, absolutely. Would you like me to draft a formal arrangement? Yes, please. 2 weeks later, Derek brought Emma and Lucas to a park halfway between our homes. I met them there with Ruth for support. The children ran to me and I held them, breathing in their little kid smell of sunshine and grass and innocence. "Grandma, we missed you so much." Emma squeezed me tight. "I missed you too, sweetheart. So very much." We spent 2 hours at the park. I pushed Lucas on the swings. I watched Emma do cartwheels. Derek kept his distance, giving us space, but I saw him smile when the kids laughed. As we said goodbye, Emma whispered, "Can we see you again, Grandma?" "Yes," I promised. "Very soon." Derek shook my hand. "Thank you for giving us a chance." I drove home feeling lighter than air. Jessica had tried to call 4 times that day. I didn't answer. I heard later through the grapevine that she was furious Derek had arranged the visit, that she'd threatened to take him back to court. But Derek held firm, and I had a good lawyer. Now, my life wasn't perfect. I still had moments of sadness, of grief for the family I'd hoped to have. But I also had peace, autonomy, friendships, purpose. I had myself back. And that I was learning was everything. Looking back now, I understand what I'd lost wasn't my children. It was my self-respect. I had confused love with sacrifice, generosity with enabling. I'd taught my children that my worth was in my wallet, and they had learned that lesson well. The hardest truth. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is say no. Sometimes protecting yourself means disappointing people who claim to love you. Sometimes family isn't about blood, it's about who treats you with dignity. I rebuilt my relationship with Emma and Lucas. Jessica and Brian were cordial, now distant. They learned consequences. I learned boundaries. To anyone listening who feels trapped by their own children's demands, you are not an ATM. You are not selfish for protecting your future. Your love should not come with bankruptcy. What would you have done in my situation? Would you have stood firm or given in? Think about it. And if my story resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Have you faced something similar? How did you handle it? Thank you for listening to my story. Sometimes we need to hear that we're not alone. That setting boundaries isn't cruelty, it's survival. Take care of yourselves. You deserve it.